Hi, this is Rachel with Mid-South Homestead Education. If you watched our previous video, you know that we were having some audio trouble. I think I've hopefully fixed these problems, and in this video you should be able to hear me much more loudly and more clearly than in our last video. If you haven't seen our previous video and you would like to, there's a link below where you can do that. I'm really excited about this video today because it's on one of my very favorite subjects, which is livestock breeds. And it's the first of an ongoing series I'm doing called Breed Spotlight. In this series, each video is going to focus on one specific breed of livestock, everything from chickens to cows and everything in between. And it's just going to tell you a little bit of the history of each breed, their origins, their uses, what makes them unique, and why you may want to consider them for your homestead. In this first video, I'm doing Nigerian Dwarf goats. I had to choose them first because they are the breed of goat that I have, and they're one of my favorite breeds of livestock, so obviously I had to start there. So the basics of Nigerian Dwarf goats. Nigerians are a purebred miniature dairy goat registered by the American Dairy Goat Association, the American Goat Society, the Nigerian Dwarf Goat Association, and a few other less prominent breed registries. Nigerians can be any color or pattern. They can also be polled, which means naturally hornless, or they can have blue eyes or moon spots. Their height is their most defining characteristic, and it should not exceed 22.5 inches for does and 23.5 inches for bucks, according to the ADGA standards. Their ears are erect and medium-sized, and they have a very balanced dairy appearance that should be similar to the standard Swiss breeds of dairy goats. Their primary uses are for dairy, show, and pet, though some breeders do use the excess dairy wethers as meat, as they do with standard-sized breeds as well. So the history of Nigerian Dwarf goats is really interesting. Nigerians actually originated on the continent of Africa, but they've been developed in the United States. They're actually still relatively new on the scene. They were first recognized as a unique breed by the International Dairy Goat Registry in 1982. Next, they would be recognized by the American Goat Society in 1984, and then the Nigerian Dwarf Goat Association was formed in 1996. Finally, in 2005, the American Dairy Goat Association, which is one of the most well-known and largest dairy goat registries in the United States, opened a Nigerian herd book and officially recognized them as a purebred dairy breed. Although they share a country of origin, Nigerians and pygmy goats are actually two distinct breeds. They are sometimes confused with each other, especially with people who are new to goats and new to goat breeding, but they are two different species. While pygmies are shorter and more cobby, and are really more of a miniature pet breed and sometimes a miniature meat breed, Nigerians are actually a miniature dairy goat, and they have been bred and developed as a miniature breed of dairy goat capable of supplying a significant amount of milk for their shorter stature. As dairy goats, Nigerians also have the more refined, well-balanced sort of dairy characteristics that you would see in the larger breeds of dairy goats as well. And although some people do milk pygmy goats, they are not really a dairy breed. Nigerian dwarfs were also once listed by the Livestock Conservancy as a breed that was at risk for extinction. And if you're not familiar with the Livestock Conservancy, it's this really awesome organization that is focused on preserving heritage breeds of livestock that are at risk for being extinct because of the increased popularity now of the more modernized breeds used in commercial agriculture. There's a link at the end of this video to their website as well, so you can go check them out and learn more about what they do. The great news for Nigerians is that although they started out being listed as rare, by 2008, when I first got my Nigerians, they had already been moved to recovering, and in 2013 they were finally officially removed from the list because their numbers had recovered so wonderfully. Nigerians really had a burst of increased popularity, and they're finally being recognized for their incredible value as productive farm animals, rather than just sort of novelty backyard pets or show goats as they were once viewed. So what makes Nigerians special and unique? Well, they're known for a number of things. Their friendly, outgoing personalities, combined with their unique color and smaller size, makes them very popular for those who want goats as pets. They're not just flashy and good pets, though. Well-bred Nigerians can be excellent milkers who can supply an incredible amount of milk for their size, usually averaging 1 to 2 quarts and sometimes even more than that a day. They are also known for having the highest average butterfat percentage of all the dairy goat breeds. Although butterfat percentage can vary from individual to individual and can also even vary along a single lactation of one animal, the average is 6 to 8% and sometimes more. The high butterfat is prized because it makes deliciously rich dairy products such as yogurt, cheese, and ice cream, and that makes Nigerians a really popular choice for those who want to make dairy products such as that and not just drink the milk. Nigerians also make a good choice for homesteaders on small acreages because they require less space and less feed than dairy cows or standard dairy goats, while still being productive. And although they do produce less milk than their larger counterparts, of course, they can still usually keep a family well supplied with milk. Their smaller size also makes them easier to handle than larger breeds, which can be a good choice for those with children who want to take part in caring for the animals. Because they originate from a hot climate, most Nigerians will also cycle year-round, allowing you to have does kidding and freshening at different times of the year other than just spring, like most of the larger breed dairy goats do. Twins and triplets are the most common birth number, but it's not unusual for a doe to give birth to 4 kids, and even 5 is not unheard of. One thing to consider if you do choose Nigerians for your homestead is to be sure and purchase from a breeder who is reputable and is breeding Nigerians for production. So in addition to finding a breeder whose herd is disease-free and healthy, you also want a breeder who is actually milking their goats. Because Nigerians are so popular as pets, some breeders are breeding strictly as pets, and those goats may not have the full milking potential that a well-bred Nigerian would have and that you would want for your homestead or for a home milker. So now for just some fun trivia about Nigerians. Nigerians are the only purebred dairy breed that can have blue eyes. The first Nigerians in America were actually kept in zoos, and it was from zoos that they eventually made their way to the public. No one knows for sure exactly why Nigerians were imported to the U.S., but the first records of them being imported were as early as 1918, and many more were documented in the 1930s and 1940s. Nigerian bucks are sometimes crossed with standard-sized dairy does to create mid-sized goats known as miniature and then the standard breed name. So you might have miniature Nubians, miniature Alpines, miniature La Manchas, etc. These crosses can be registered by the Miniature Dairy Goat Registry and the Miniature Dairy Goat Association. Pictured at the bottom is one of my does. Her name is Tira, and she is a mini Mancha or a miniature La Mancha, meaning that she is a cross from a Nigerian and La Mancha dairy goats. Thanks for watching this video. As I said earlier, this was created for and by Mid-South Homestead Education. Our website is homesteadeducation.com. You can also find us on Facebook and subscribe to us here on YouTube. Even if you don't live in the Mid-South area, we encourage you to join our online community so you can still benefit from our online resources even if you aren't able to attend our live in-person events and workshops. I also have some sources here listed for you. You can visit to find out more about Nigerian dwarf goats. And please let us know what topics you would like to see from us in the future for our videos, our blog posts, or even our live classes. Let us know if there's a specific breed you'd like for us to cover in this Breed Spotlight series. And thank you once again for watching. I will see you in our next video.